Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's a football podcast. We've got everybody today, all hands on deck. We're all making predictions. We're all talking about last week's games, finding out who won the week, talking news. It's all here. It's all wrapped up in a nice little package just for you to enjoy. While you're enjoying, please do consider subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. It does mean the world to us. So, let's get cracking. Here we go. This is CookieCast, a football podcast.
Recording in progress.
I mean, she would know, wouldn't she? She would know. Which again, I think is weird because I'm pretty sure... No, doesn't matter. Anyway, it's that time of the week. It isn't at all that time of the week. It's much later in the week. But hey, we are still here. We're still going to talk about a sporting event of some description. And it'll only have a ball involved. It just depends what the shape of that ball is. And in this week's episode, it's a hexagonal ball. That's right, this week, ladies and gents, we're looking through the hexagonal window. No, it's football, and it's the football podcast, so I hand you over to Paul Williams to ease you in gently.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cook. Yes, welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be getting your weekly dose of football-based knowledge, football-based nonsense, football-based banter. Just all things football, really. Some wins, some losses. Just goals everywhere. What can I say?
For you audio listeners, me and Paul are never alone. We have voices in our heads, we have the people that follow us around shops, and when we're talking football, we have the mighty additional hosts, additional co-hosts. I one day hope to assume the role of comptroller, leaving you gentlemen to all be respective hosts. And as Paul is the host of the football podcast, Matthew Moore being the host of the Pursuit of Happiness podcast, and Stuart Woodmansey being the host of the Getting Over podcast.
Hello.
We're all here and we're ready to talk football. So Paul, where do we go first?
Well, obviously games took place last week, possibly even last night, that we need to discuss. So let's start with last week's game, shall we?
Sounds about right to me. Should we address the elephant in the room being the reason that we're recording later this week, or should we throw him under the bus later?
Well, I'm sure he'll come to that when he discusses the second game of this week that involved Hull City.
You're saying he's going to dive under the bus himself? Interesting. So, there was 3 and a bonus, not a bonus ball, 3 games and a bonus game, a pickup. First of 3 games, Middlesbrough. They went up against Reading. So, Paul, Middlesbrough versus Reading. Anybody going to be absolutely elated with the score in this game?
I'm sure there'll be some people out there who had this down as a 2-1 Middlesbrough win.
2-1?
Maybe not in the way that it came about. It's a strange one, this one, because this is sort of the unofficial Williams derby in my head, because I spent 3 years rotting away in Reading, getting a qualification that I'm using every single day of my life to better myself and stuff like that. So, you know, big up the University of Reading. Reading took the lead in this one with everyone's favourite Geordie, the lanky bastard known as Andy Carroll, scoring a looping header that just managed to nestle it away into the corner of the net. But this Middlesbrough side, they're built a bit different. They don't seem to know when they're beaten. They got an equaliser in about the 80th minute, I believe. I haven't actually checked it. I was too busy just sort of seeing that they'd scored and was like, ah! Just check.
It's hard to see the scoring time when you've got
84th minute. 84th minute was when they got the equaliser, and that was it was a trio of headers in this game. It was Andy Carroll got the first header for Reading, Matt Crooks with the equaliser on the 84th minute, and for the third game in a row, Middlesbrough scored a 90-plus minute winner with another header from Mr. Matt Crooks. This came off the back of it was another assist as well for Isaiah Jones, which is interesting because I believe this week, coming off the back of the FA Cup from the previous week, there's been a lot of talk in the papers about, Middlesbrough's right back must be pretty good if Jed Spence is, if they've allowed him to go out on loan, blah, blah, blah. And Isaiah Jones proved just how good he has been by popping up with yet another assist. So, happy days. But yeah, 95th minute winner for the third game in a row. Happy days.
Well, it is happy days. Because it's happy days for us. And I mean all of us. There's points in this game. Unfortunately for me and you, Paul, just a point apiece. We correctly predicted Middlesbrough to win, but not correctly enough. And of the 3 goal scorers you predicted, didn't get Crooks. I'm in the same boat. I did not of the 2 I predicted. However, as we know by now, if there is a correct score to be had, one of these 2 gentlemen here is absolutely going to get it. Or both of them, because both of them went for a 2-1. So it's 2 points apiece. If only one of them had put Carroll to score, Stuart Woodmansey takes an extra point. 3 points to you, sir. Congrats. Anybody who's keeping score, and all of it is important, it's a 1 for me and Paul, 2 for Matt, 3 for Stu. Speaking of Matt, his team took on the mighty Millwall. Nottingham Forest, Millwall. Matt, were Millwall really that mighty, or did Nottingham Forest have enough to put them to the sword?
Apparently they played quite well. It was quite an even game, but the podcast's favourite striker, the 60-goal a season striker that he is, Lewis Grabban, popped up to emulate the Middlesbrough Late Show to come up with a not quite as late as 95th minute, but the 91st minute to take the 3 points back up the M1 to Nottingham after risking their life to go to Millwall, which I think is the general consensus. But so decent result. Apparently a forgettable game. Nice to come away with the win. That's the kind of things that you need when you're pushing towards the higher end of the league. So yeah.
So, in the previous game, me and Paul were in the same camp. Very much in the same camp. And in this game, me and Paul are very much in the same camp because both of us predicted a Forest win. Not quite a 1-0. We both went with a 2-0, but it's still points. A little bit of point for you, a little bit of point for me. Neither Stu or Matt got points for scores because a draw and a Millwall win ain't going to cut it, I'm afraid. Both me and Paul had the foresight to think he's got to get them 60 goals from somewhere. Both of us predicted Graham 2 points each. Absolutely glorious. So, for this game, 2 for me and Paul. Bagels with locks, I'm afraid, for Matt and Stu. Now then, 3 games this week. And our third game... No, because the other one's a bonus game. It's 3 games this week. I'm trying to get people to forget about the 4th game because it's not important as far as the scores are concerned. Stu, Hull City took on Stoke City. Do you have any insight into this game? Close personal insight into this game?
This, as we mentioned last week, was the first of my 2 trips to the MKM Stadium within a matter of days. So it was kind of nice to be almost feeling like a regular again for a short period of time. That was until the referee started the game and then remembered, actually, oh yeah, we were absolutely dog shit. So Stoke just ran through the midfield like they weren't even there. I think it might have been mentioned that I'm pretty sure Hull were playing sort of a 4-0-2 formation because I didn't see anybody in midfield at all for the entire game. Paul may or may not be happy as an old boy scored for Stoke. However, Stoke easily ran out 2-0 winners, and the goals were scored in the 22nd minute by Brown and the 50th minute by old boy Tom Ince, who celebrated like he'd just won the lottery.
From a scores perspective, one of us is going to be happy with the score. The rest of us, no dice. Paul, you put down a draw and you didn't get either of the goal scorers. Matt, you thought Paul knew what he was up to. You put down a draw. Neither of the goal scorers. I had Hull down to win. None of the goal scorers. But I don't know whether it was because he was going to be there or because he was like, I'm just going to roll the dice one last time and put my team down to win. Oh wait, no, that's right. This was the week where Stu decided to go against his team, put Stoke City down to win. Points on the board. So the only person getting a point out of this game is Stu with 1 point. So I'm going to give you a breakdown. And that breakdown looks like this. Paul, you've got 3 points so far for the week. Matt, just 2. I myself have 3 points as well. Storming into the lead with 4, Stuart Woodmansey. But there was a bonus game. A bonus ball. If this was the lottery, it would be the bonus ball. And again, Stu suited up and went off to watch Hull City versus Blackburn Rovers.
Believe me, when the man says suited up, Jesus, it was cold. You forget like midweek games in winter. Oh my god. Yeah, it was brisk, shall we say. However, I'm sure we'll get into the news a little bit later on, but Stoke was the last game under the rule of the old chairman because the takeover finally happened. So, completely fresh regime, if you like, and even though it was essentially the same team on the whole, there was two changes, but yeah, it was literally like a different team turned up to play. Blackburn have been absolutely on a tear of late, 3rd in the league. I expected a cricket score, and before the game, my mate Rich Rich Walker, he turned to me and said, "Something stupid's going to happen tonight. We're going to win." I was like, I mean, he didn't drive through, so he could quite easily have had several beers by this point, but the man was dry. But he called it, and yeah, so the second game in a row at the MKM Stadium did finish 2-0, but this time at least it was in favour of Hull City. So the goals were scored in the 7th minute by George Honeyman, and in the 67th minute, ball came into the back post, towering over everybody, is everybody's favourite useless striker that actually managed to find the net this week in Tom Eaves. Paul's really happy about it, look, you can tell.
He's so bad.
I mean, he scored a goal.
I'm sure Paul won't mind me telling you that I did have a bit of a chuckle when I checked my phone after the game, and the first thing I saw was a message from Paul saying, "If that useless piece of scored for you, it's got to be your night." Actually, I was chuckling away after that.
I watched it, and fair enough, he did his job well. He's a tall, annoying striker at the end of the day, isn't he? So his job is there to just basically put the defenders off.
Mm.
But his touch is so bad.
I will say though that as well, I think with barring sort of two little spells from Blackburn, and the fact that we sit so deep, we give them so much space in the midfield, which was obviously the problem from the Stoke game. There must have been something in the air though, whether it was the takeover, whatever. But I feel like they absolutely got away with two instances in particular whereby Blackburn blatantly should have had a penalty. And then also to match that, for Eves' goal, Eves wasn't fouling the goalkeeper, but they sent another man in on the keeper.
I don't know if you've seen it back, but they actually slowed it down on the replay on Sky. And they basically, was it McLaughlin?
Yeah.
So they just like the camera sort of pans, and you can just see McLaughlin just do this. Look for where the keeper is, and then they just go, and just basically just running at the keeper. Oh, yeah.
But as
shithousery of the highest accord, lovely.
As always, though, gifts of points are greatly accepted, especially at our end of the division. So, not a game we expected anything from, but very, very happy with the result. So
yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a turn up for the form table, because Blackburn were top of the form table going into that game. They hadn't lost in at least 6, so it's alright though, because the team that's taken over at the top of the form table must be some team. Is that a very specific form table also within the last 5 minutes of the game? Because then that's even more. No, but the stats, I'm pretty sure we might have covered this earlier in the season before Chris Wilder took over. It was something like ridiculous, like 78% or something like that of Borough's goals were conceded in the second half of games. So they just under one, they just knackered and just ran out of stamina. So whatever Wilder's got doing in the 6 to 8 weeks that he's been in charge is ridiculous. But
so we're saying drug testers need to go up there. That's what.
Hey, do you know what? He might just have them on the Viagra. Get the oxygen in that blood. Lovely.
I know sometimes that you have that striker that you just want it to go in off any body part, but I mean that's getting ridiculous now.
I know this is the wrong sport, but I saw something about OBJ, how he'd had a good game, so they drug tested him immediately. Like,
God.
Immediately they were like, got you booked in for a drug test in the morning. Like, so Hull City 2, Blackburn Rovers 0. Paul, you did not get that score. You were big in the camp of Blackburn Rovers doing one on the Hull team. Luckily for you, though, you did predict Honeyman to score. 1 point. Stu went with his standard tactic, best get the other team a goal. Blackburn Rovers 1, Hull 0. It's not going to do it, I'm afraid. Matt even further in the camp of Blackburn's going to turn over Hull. But we all know that Matt loves the Honeyman. So another point for you, sir.
Look at the joy in his face when he's forgotten that he picked him.
I think I messaged you last night. I was like, I didn't go with my boy. And then I did.
Turns out you did.
You did. Oh, that's right. I put Hull 2-0. I also had Honeyman to score, so that's 3 points for me. Scores for the week. Paul 4, Stu 4, Matt 3. And winning the week with 6 points. This guy. 6 points. I took 3 out of the last game. What? Who knows what's going on here? Hull are winning games. I'm winning the week.
Surprising result results in another surprising result.
It's when he said bonus game, we should have known something was afoot, because that clearly was a bonus for Mystico.
Well, Paul's like, oh, there was 4 games. I was like, there wasn't. Let's forget about the 4th game.
So we can cancel that one then?
Yeah, if you like. Hull have to give their points back.
No,
obviously.
Because I still want the points for the team. So
you can't have it both ways, Stu. It's one way or the other. So, Paul, where next? News and reviews.
Might as well do next week's games, and then we'll leave it for this week in football at the end, as I think we've actually got some bits to do this week. So
lovely stuff. So, I am reliably informed. Again, 4 games. Seems to be some double dipping from certain teams. 3 games this week, yeah.
And a bonus.
3 and a bonus. We're starting out with Nottingham Forest taking on Derby County. Matt, you will predict this game last. So, Stu.
I've gone for Nottingham Forest 1, Derby County 0.
Yes.
And every time I pick Grabban, he doesn't score that game. So I'm just giving you boys that information now, so that when I tell Andy I'm picking Grabban, you can change your picks accordingly if you'd like to.
Well, Stu, unfortunately, I've already put my pick in the book, and my pick is 2-0 to Nottingham Forest. Grabban and Zinkernagel to score those goals. Paul. 4-0.
I do think Forest will win,
4-0.
but I think that Derby will shithouse their way to a goal, and it'll probably be scored by Tom Lawrence.
2-1.
And he'll probably give it all the big licks. It'll be all this. It'll be some sort of like some sort of like weird celebration. Because let's be honest, he's a twat. So
No, what's happening?
I will go 2-1, and hopefully that second is scored in the 180th minute or something like that of a ridiculous amount of injury time or something like that. But just like it's one of those ones where you just hope that like Derby go 1 up and then Forest just smash and grab it right at the end, just to really hammer home the fact that Derby lost and stuff like that. You know, a real punishing loss for a team that, let's be honest, get everything they deserve. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's call a spade a spade. Their fans are certainly calling spades at the moment, so let's not pull any punches. Yeah, I'll go 2-1 Forest. Lawrence to score for Derby, and a grab and brace for Forest. Why not?
Lovely stuff. Matt, talk to me.
I mean, you're all very optimistic. The Forest Derby games go one of 2 ways. They're either a draw or someone gets absolutely stuffed. And generally, it's the team that aren't playing very well that gives the other team a really good stuffing. Now, I can't predict that bunch beat us by like 3 or 4-1 or something like that. So I've gone for the 1-1 draw. As many Forest fans are joking on various social media sites, the last East Midlands derby or something along those lines.
Excellent.
Depending on how their financial woes go. So I've got one each. Joe Worrell to score for Forest. And me and Mr. Williams are on the same wavelength when it comes to derby scorers, because he is a ratty little bastard. Tom Lawrence. Also, there was a vicious rumour today that Forest were interested in signing him. And if Forest do sign him, I'm no longer on this podcast because I'm no longer a Forest fan. He is in the Robbie Savage ranks. Put anybody in that list of players that if he signs for my club, the club can get stuffed because you've sold your soul to some tiny little devil child.
My mate Steve's got some of them. He's a Man United fan, but he's got like a list of about 5 or 6 players that he said if they ever signed for United, he'd be absolutely heartbroken. Top of the list, Pepe. No explanation needed. The guy's an absolute prick. Need I say more? But yeah, I know exactly what Mr. Moore's got coming out there. Yeah, they're just players that you just absolutely you do not want to see your team linked with. Martin Waghorn, one of them.
Yeah,
and, thankfully he was
cheers
linked
for
with
that.
Borough. Yeah, but thankfully he was linked with Borough, and then the Derby saw a lot of sense and decided to pay ridiculous amounts of money to sign him. So.
But then he's also that guy that when he has played for your team, plays crap. Apart from then when he's playing against your team.
Yeah, but that's what adds to his, and I put in this word in inverted commas, charm. So yeah, we digress anyway. Sorry.
So, AFC Bournemouth taking on newly winning games Hull City. So, Stu, you will go last. I am going to go first. Hull City 1, AFC Bournemouth 0, and I am well and truly on board the Honeyman train. It's great to say, it's great to predict, it's even better when he scores. Let's do this. Matt.
I have gone 2 each.
2 apiece.
Bournemouth concede a lot of goals. I've gone Solanke and Billing for Bournemouth, and Lewis Potter and Longman this week for Hull.
Lewis Potter and Longman. Paul.
I'm liking what's been put down so far. I would like to also go for a draw, but just 1-1. I will go for Tyler Smith to score for Hull.
Okay.
Refreshing my memory of Bournemouth shithouses. Mark Hondes seems to have been amongst the goals recently, so I think he'll get back on the score sheet again.
Go on then, Stu.
Well, if you cast your mind way back to the beginning of the season, and there was that really optimistic start, fresh league, big gun, spank Preston, and well, last night had that kind of air of fresh start about it again. So they've gone out, they've had their good win. Anybody else remember what happened just after the Preston game? That's right, they got their pants pulled down. So I have gone for Bournemouth 3, Hull 1. Plus, it's a long way to go, innit? So I've gone for Solanke Lerma and Christie. And then for Hull, because he's now way overdue, Keane Lewis Potter.
Some good chances last night.
He did. To be fair, he had some chances in the Stoke game as well. And how he hasn't come out of those two games without hitting the net. There was a free kick that he missed seemingly by inches that was into the goal that we were sat behind last night. And he was practising the exact free kick from the exact spot where the foul took place. And in practice, he didn't hit one of them. So we're like, oh, that's it. He's got all his bad ones out of the way. No, still didn't hit the goal either.
I was close, that one, though. He only just missed the post.
He did that with his practice ones. Like, they were getting closer and closer and closer, and then he had to go in. And when it was the exact spot that had been taking them from before, Rich got really excited about it. He was like, that's it. And then, nothing. It was a shame. He worked hard last night, I thought.
So that moves us on to Blackburn Rovers, taking on Middlesbrough. Now, initially, this was a difficult game to find in the upcoming games because not on Saturday, not on Sunday. So immediately you jump to your Tuesday, Wednesday sort of area. Nowhere to be found. Reliably informed. Monday Night Football. Biddly. So, Monday Night Football, and I believe if you put your telly box on, it'll be there. Blackburn Rovers taking on Middlesbrough. So,
Middlesbrough's task has been made remarkably a little bit more easy by the fact that a certain Chile adjacent superstar is not available for said game, as he is probably going to be on his way to Chile for some games of international football. So
who is this?
Ben Brereton, 4 extra letters, will not be in this game, just in case anyone needs that information before they make their prediction.
I did need that information before making my prediction, because I was like, oh no. So, Stu, why don't you let us know what you think's going to happen in this game?
Blackburn 1, Middlesbrough 1. I've gone for Gallagher and Sporar.
I thought for a second you were going to take my 1-2 prediction, but you didn't. 1-2, Blackburn Rovers 1, Middlesbrough 2, Buckley to score for Blackburn Rovers, Sporar and Crooks to score for Middlesbrough. Matt.
I'm also giving Middlesbrough 2 goals, and I've also picked Crooks and Sporar. And, he won't say it, but previously I'd said I'd gone for a Ben Brereton Diaz double, just so I could say Ben Brereton Diaz. I was going to say Ben Brereton Diaz, and then another Ben Brereton Diaz goal, just so I could say it a good few times to wind him up, but then that scuppered it, or did it, because I've got to say it a few times anyway. So instead I'm going to go with the old boy Ayala, and the Spurs player that they've just signed who looked quite good, Markande, actually, Mark and Andy with an A between the D and the Y. So there you go. He looked quite good.
Go on then, Paul.
Stu took mine, so I'll have to reuse. I also believe it will be 1-1. Sadly, all runs have to come to an end, and I do think this is a game too far for us to carry on the winning run, sadly. So, 1-1. I was going to go for Joe Rothwell to score the goal for Blackburn, but then Matt reminded me that Daniel Ayala used to play for Borough and hasn't scored for them in a while, I don't think. So,
he only was used as a sub last night, though, if that's...
Yeah, but Mowbray's an ex-manager, also an ex-player. I think I think part of the reason he didn't play him last night was to keep him for the weekend. Monday. So I can fully see Ayala scoring and then just going full wind-up merchant. So Ayala to score for Blackburn, and I'm going to go for a first in Middlesbrough colours for Balogun.
Lovely
That's the kid
stuff.
from Arsenal.
He's indeed the kid on loan from Arsenal.
Now, we have another game. It's another situation where we've got a bonus game to predict, but we are going to have to take a short commercial break. So we will be right back in a minute.
Recording in progress.
There we go. The lady says, so we must do. Bonus football game. Here we go. Which team is double dipping this week? It's Matt's team this week. Nottingham Forest take on the most Yorkshire club in the land, Barnsley. That's right. So, where do we go here? Clearly we're not going to Matt because he gets picked last. Paul.
Not only are they the most Yorkshire club in the land, they're the most bottom club in the Championship. Even with Derby's huge points deduction, Barnsley are that shit that they're bottom of the division.
They got. I think they're about 4 games in hand though as well, due to COVID stuff. I think.
Matt sat there thinking, Paul, don't foreshadow this because we all know what's coming now.
I mean, it does have all the hallmarks of a 1-0 Barnsley win. I'm just trying to think if Borough have played there.
Take his first answer, Andy. Take his first answer.
It's in the book. I've got to accept your first answer.
I don't know if Borough have played there this season.
You want me to put a Borough own goal? Lovely.
No, I'll go 2-0 Forest. Graben for 1. And I'll tempt fate by going for a Brennan Johnson goal. Even though he might not even be a Forest player by this point next week.
See,
if the rumours are anything to go by.
keeping in line with previous games, you and I are very close on this one. I have also gone with a 2-0 Forest win. I've also picked Johnson, but I've gone with Taylor as well. Decided to mix up some goal scorers this week. Stu.
Raging. I've also picked 2-0 Forest. Johnson is also one of the ones on my sheet. And I've gone for callback for the other one.
Love it.
Oh.
2-0, Matt. Yeah.
There's a 2-goal difference between the two clubs. But I've gone 3-1 for Forest.
For a second, he had us going.
3-1 for Forest. I've gone for the very rare all strikers scoring. So I've got young Keenan Davis getting his first goal for Forest, Graben getting one, and then old Lyle Taylor doing a little cameo at the end, getting the third. And then I think it's Isha for Barnsley getting a little sneaky kind of consolation or a little kind of scare them early on kind of goal, something like that.
So, 3 games and a bonus. The click of the pen means that all predictions are in the book. And that is the prediction train pulling into the station. So, Paul, where do we head to now on our journey through the football world?
Well, it'd be remiss of us to not discuss some of the goings on of this week, wouldn't it?
Love goings on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been a fairly quiet week. No, it's absolutely not. Not for me, anyway.
Well, obviously Obviously, there was the talk of the whole takeover that had been completed. I don't know if it was. Had it been? I don't know if. I don't think it had been confirmed last week that Middlesbrough had signed Florian Balogun from Arsenal on loan to the end of the season, but obviously that is now confirmed as I'm picking into Scott. Borough also signed another player, Australian international central midfielder Riley McGree. They signed him from an MLS franchise and beat Celtic to his signature apparently, which that did not go down well in Glasgow. Yeah, the Twitter police in Glasgow having a right field day. So apparently the borough admin's just been on fire, just rinsing Celtic fans and stuff like that. Anyway, in the same way that when they announced that Balogun had signed, they tweeted something like a picture of him pointing at the badge because he knows how to do that. I believe it was something like knows where the badge is, knows where the back of the net is, something along those lines, blah blah blah. And it was like just lovely. That's sort of it from a borough perspective, other than the ongoing Derby situation. So Derby have told their administrators that they can leave administration, but only if the ongoing suits brought against them by Wickham and Steve Gibson on behalf of Middlesbrough are dropped. So if Middlesbrough and Wickham don't drop their countersuits against Derby, they will be unable to exit administration, which means that liquidation of the company and therefore the football club would be an almost certainty. Oh no, what a shame. Pay your fucking bills. I was about that as an idea.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, it'll be like pleading to the better kind of thing. And I mean, I don't know what. I don't want to comment on it, but you know, Steve Gibson always seems like a decent guy, and I don't know whether we want to kind of put them into administration, but also there's got to be some kind of principle of like, well, you know, you didn't kind of pay the money. I think for, say, Middlesbrough, I don't want to kind of cast aspersions, but you can probably afford to forego however much money they've robbed from you. A club like Wickham, I don't think can forego the money that they've stole from them. And, you know, going into administration is effectively, you know, going, right, we can't pay our bills, we're not going to pay our bills, screw you kind of thing. And, you know, part of me's like, stamp on the neck, and part of me's like, you know, oh God, you know, do we have to kind of go through it? But yeah, it's a funny one. I kind of hope, you know, in a way, I hope they kind of do just kind of finish them off really, and they can start again from the bottom.
It's that sort of like weird situation that obviously Steve Gibson, he's not a vindictive guy. He's not going out and like saying that he wants to see Derby die. Obviously, he feels that as a businessman, he had wrong done to him, and therefore his club, and he's merely seeking, like, you know, recompense for I was going to say services rendered, but services not rendered, I suppose, in this regard. But, you know, opportunities missed out on. The fact that Derby were outside of the financial fair play regulations in that season was the same season that Middlesbrough finished 7th and Derby finished 6th, and therefore took the spot that Middlesbrough would have got to get into the playoffs. Fair enough. We might have got beaten by Leeds over 2 legs. We might not have done what Derby did. We may have got to the playoff final and lost against Villa like Derby did. But we didn't have a chance to do that because of their questionable bookkeeping. So all he's claiming is that the opportunity for Middlesbrough to get promoted back into the Premier League was taken away from them by dealings that were out of their control. So that's why he's obviously seeking the compensation and things like that. So who knows? I think it's come out in the last couple of days that they're happy to agree a settlement with the new owners if they want to take it external to like the courts and stuff like that, which could very well be Mike Ashley if he is the interested party who's looking to come in and take over Derby, and that's something that could be agreed out of the courtroom and stuff like that. And I think Gibson would be more than happy with that. All he's looking for is a settlement that's just agreeable to both parties. Basically, he's not looking to take them to task and like that absolutely cripple them. Like, bear in mind, he took over as the Middlesbrough chairman when Middlesbrough were liquidated, and then obviously they put the package together to rescue the club so they wouldn't go out of business altogether, and then kept him in the Football League. So it's not as if he's just thinking, "Ooh, that'll be a hilarious little thing for Derby to have to go through." He's been through it himself, so he doesn't exactly want to do it, but he knows that for the good and the sort of the keeping the reputation of the game intact, he feels it's exactly what he needs to do.
We all know that Mike Ashley likes to splash a bit of cash in the northeast as well, so you know.
I think that's the thing. It's the blatant disregard for like running your club properly, and you know, you said questionable bookkeeping. No, it's damn right criminal. Not criminal. Criminal's a bit too far, maybe. But it's going against the rules. It's you know what you're doing. You know that it's been done in the past. You know, Leicester did it, and obviously it worked out for Leicester because they got promoted, and see you later. QPR did it as well. Was it QPR?
QPR, Bournemouth. There's loads of clubs that have done it, and it's worked out for them because they ended up getting promoted. It's the teams that do it don't get promoted, and then they get like shanned off by it because they just don't have the income to cover the losses that they'd incurred in that sort of 2 or 3 year period.
Yeah.
So, but the whole point of it, the whole point of the model is to stop this from happening to clubs. Is to say, don't spend beyond your means, so that we don't have to come in and basically just deduct loads of points off you to punish you to not do it again. And oh no, your club's folded because you don't have any fucking money. I mean, this is exactly what's
commonly known as dual leads. I think we could take that conversation into, I think, like, this Fulham run of 3 6-0 wins in a row?
Was it 7-0, 6-2, 6-2 they've won in their last 3 games? That's insane.
19 scored, 4 conceded in 3 games.
It just turns the competition. It's not a competition, is it? It's a joke. And they'll go up next season. It'll be absolutely
slowly but surely, we're getting to that point where you're getting a bunch of teams that are too good for the Championship but not good enough when they get up to the Premier League, and it's going to start creating like a
going to start the Premier League 2, isn't it?
It's going to start a push for a Premier League 2, or it's going to start a push to expand the Premier League to say like 24 teams or something like that.
I don't think they'll ever do that because it was reduced, wasn't it?
It started off with 22.
Yeah, to reduce the amount of games that the top clubs were playing because they're playing in the Champions League and stuff. What I could see is a Premier League 1 with 18, and then a Premier League 2 with another 18, and then the Championship gets pushed even further down. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is if they try and seal it off and say, right, yeah, we're not doing promotion and relegation, which is the dangerous kind of side of it. But I just thought, just looking at that, 3 wins of 6 goals, scoring 6 goals plus in a row, and it's not the first time this season they've gone on a run where it's like, oh crap, they've scored like a not ordinary amount of goals in a match consecutively, kind of thing. And it's what is it? I can't think of a. It's like, oh, damn, when the phrase goes out of your mind of wrestling, it's an unbiased ass whooping or something like that. There's no kind of like they're not beating up on the little teams. They're just beating everybody, and it doesn't matter who you are. Blackburn got stuffed, and they're a decent team, and it was a good team getting whipped.
Bristol City was the result that shocked me as much, because I know they're not like sorry, Andy, I know they're not world beaters, but they're not a team to be on the arse end of a 6-2 defeat.
They're in the playoffs, aren't they? Are they in the playoffs?
No, that's QPR.
But then to go and turn that, like I say, that 6-2 result out twice, it's insane. Like,
it's one of those ones where there's going to be some smug bastard who sat in the stands, who's gone to the bookies beforehand and has put a daft quid on 6-2, because you always get them. You always get them, that one person who goes in and gets like odds of like 250 to 1 on a ridiculous score, and it always happens. So just weird.
Especially if they've done it the first week and then the second week as well.
Yeah.
But so speaking of irregular betting, Arsenal might be getting paid a visit from the investigators this week, from what we've seen.
So, in response, this is directly from Sky. In response to a story published by The Athletic, an FA spokesperson told Sky Sports News the FA is aware of the matter in question and is looking into it. Arsenal declined to comment on the story when contacted by Sky Sports News. The FA is aware of the allegations that a yellow card received by an Arsenal player in a Premier League fixture this season raised concerns around suspicious betting patterns. Now, if that player is not named Granit Xhaka, I will be astounded. He must be the most booked player in Arsenal's history or something like that, giving like Patrick Vieira a run for his money.
But if they come out with a report saying it's Xhaka, people are like, oh yeah, throw that out the window because he's just a dirty bastard, and that's just standard. You know, anyone's betting on that one, aren't you? And that's not it. You know, it's if someone completely out of the blue is like, oh right, yeah, that's a bit of a weird one to get booked early on. They're not that kind of player.
Actually, the article's not actually that long, so I'll just go through the rest of it because it shouldn't take me too long. In response to a story published by The Athletic, an FA spokesperson told Sky Sports News the FA is aware of the matter in question and is looking into it. Arsenal declined to comment. The Athletic story reports bookmakers alerted the FA to an unusual amount of money placed on the Arsenal player being shown a yellow card during a Premier League game this season. The Athletic also claims to know the identity of the player in question, but has agreed not to reveal it at this time due to privacy reasons.
Well, surely, yes, they must know the identity of the player, otherwise they wouldn't publish the story, surely. Because it's a bit of a non-story if you don't...
You would have thought so. But it'll certainly be interesting, because I would dare say if that all comes out and it gets proven to be fully accurate and stuff, yeah, that guy's going to be getting a severe ban. I won't be surprised if it's double figures of games that he's banned for.
Well, I mean, you've got to go back to the 60s before anything that kind of reflects anything like this happening before, and some of those guys lost their career.
Well, Matt Le Tissier covered something similar in his book. He said that he, I can't remember what it was. I think that, I don't know if they cost it as spread betting or pot betting or something like that. But there was one game that he played. I think he said it was away at Crystal Palace or something like that. And he looked at the odds before the game, and the odds for the first throw-in, you could obviously bet whichever side it was that got the first throw-in. So we obviously backed Palace to get the first throw-in and put like $2,000 on it or $10,000. It was a ridiculous sum of money because the payout was like fairly decent. And all he knew was that all he needed to do was then to win the toss, get the kickoff or take the first kickoff in the game. He needed to get the ball and just absolutely lump it out of touch. And he said that what happened was that it all went to plan. They won the toss and got the kickoff and stuff like that. And he was like, right, well, I can't just like oof it straight into touch because that's going to look proper dodgy. So what he needed to do was that he had to. By the way, this isn't slander or anything. This is in Matt Le Tissier's book, perfectly legitimate and stuff like that. He said what he had to do was he had to get the ball back from the kickoff and then basically trying to aim like a long ball down the wing. But he was like, well, what I'll do is I'll just put a little bit extra on it than what I would normally do so it doesn't look that obvious. And then he said he shat himself as he saw that Rod Wallace or Danny Wallace was chasing down the wing. And he was like, shit, he's going to get that. He's going to get that. And apparently just missed it and it bounced out. He's like, and then apparently after that he never bet anyone football again. But definitely takes place. And so
This-
they've put a blanket ban on it now. They said that anyone, I think it's even as far down as like Northern League or something like that. It's pretty much as far down the pyramid as you can get.
And it ain't just players though either, because like back in like the days of me working in the club shop, we would quite regularly on a match day, it would be chippy run at dinner, and everyone would have filled in an acca, and we'd go to the chippy, go to the bookies, back to the ground. Now, even if you work in the club shop and have no bearing on the game whatsoever, you're not allowed to.
How crazy!
Not allowed. It's. I mean, you like I said though. We've gone to games where you've been like, that's dodgy. You know, just like if they take the kick off and it's like, obviously they must say if they got like get someone else in on it, right? I'm gonna just ping it out left. You just make it look like you were going for it, and you just think, you know, like there's been so many times when I've been at Forest and like they take the kick off and it goes straight out for a throw in, and like, whoa, boo, you're like, fine. So you know, you might as well. You could hear his mates cheering outside the ground as he's just pinged out for a thing, and his mates all made 10 grand. You know,
this is a revelation for me, because I'm now reconsidering every kick-off that I've ever seen Hull take. It generally ends up back even from the Peter Taylor days right up to now. It's either they pass it back and lump it forward, or they'll play it out to the wing and it goes out into touch.
I think there's probably a couple of times when I turned to my dad and went, "Oh, that was rubbish," and my dad went, "Uh-huh." So obviously my dad was like, "Yeah, it's dodgy," but obviously because I was young and didn't kind of think that people would do that kind of thing, was like, "Oh yeah, that was rubbish," and he's just like, "Oh yeah, well that was fixed," kind of thing. I should have been on Forest, you know, the other team getting the first throw
in. Just whilst we've sort of come to an end of that, alright, to quickly tie up the rest of the story from the takeover stuff, because it does link into a little bit more transfer news as well. So as we mentioned last week, the figure touted was around 30 million to buy the football club, or as we also called it, a third of a Jack Grealish. The takeover went through officially about 90 minutes before the game last night, and it was the statement went on the website, everything. And as luck would have it, when I went to the game, I'd walked around to the West Stand to go and meet my friends, and it was just as the new guy was arriving. So there was a bit of a fanfare of like him getting into the ground, and spare a thought for the merchandising folks. And as he proudly walks into the ground as owner for the first time and waved a flag with the old crest on, I'm sure that has gone down an absolute treat in the offices, but I thought it was quite funny. There was a bit came out, so obviously the future of Grant McCann and his staff is all a bit kind of up in the air at the moment. Don't really know what's going to happen. If the result had gone badly against Blackburn, I suspect that would have probably been it anyway, and used as the excuse to clean house a little. The uncertainty around the takeover and stuff beforehand is apparently what's led to McGuinness going to Wigan. He had 6 months left on his contract apparently, and because there was no stability, no sort of stability in the background, they couldn't offer him any terms on a new deal at the time. So he's gone for the sure bet, which you can't blame the guy for doing it. But apparently there was a bit of disappointment from the manager that they didn't manage to retain last season's top scorer, even though he's not exactly hit the ground running in the Championship. I think that's probably fair to say. But yeah, the new owner instantly making an impact on the transfer news, as they've been linked with a £2.5 million bid apparently has been put in for Alexander Pesic, a 29-year-old striker from a Turkish side. And again, forgive me for the pronunciation. Fatih Karagümrük. I'm sure that is not how you say it, but that is how it is phonetically spelled. So, yeah, if we've got any Turkish listeners, please feel free to correct me. But yeah, we haven't spent £2.5 million on a player for a very long time, so that's quite interesting now to see how that unfolds. So watch this space and make sure you've got a bit of extra room in that predictions book, Andy, for that surname to go in.
I did see that I don't know if it was. I think it was at the weekend in the Sky coverage of the Stoke game, where they'd said that one name that had come up as a potential managerial change was Shota Arveladze, who used to play for Rangers, I think. Don't know where that link's come from because I don't think he's Turkish. I think he's Georgian.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like
unless he maybe managed or played for a club that he's got involvement with in Turkey, I don't know.
I think he played there out there, didn't he? I honestly, I'm sure he played in Turkey.
This is the thing with the guy that they've been linked with just now. Like he's not, despite the fact that they were saying, "Oh, we're gonna bring in Turkish this, that, and the other" before the takeover even went through. The guy that they're linked with, not a Turkish player, but he just plays for a Turkish team. So that's obviously where they've kind of got a bit of information from.
Was this the name of the club you were talking about?
No. Fatih Karagümrük was the one that it's... Paul's just pulling up random Turkish teams on his phone now.
No, that was... They were a Uzbekistani team.
Oh, well, completely correlated.
Tashkent. Needless to say, I obviously will have to buy a shirt as soon as someone hears that name, she will absolutely love it. So,
but yeah, in terms of Hull City news, it's been a big week, but that was kind of it for now.
Yeah, how do you feel about it all?
Mixed, really. The Allams outstayed their welcome for far too long in the end. They did a few things right. Let's not write it off completely. But they also did a hell of a lot of things wrong.
Two promotions under them.
Mhm. But yeah, let's not forget alienating.
I suppose 3.
Let's not forget alienating the fan base though by trying to change the name of the club to Hull Tigers. Also, deciding for a good portion of their dictatorship. Period in charge. They also knocked off the concession prices. So if you were 8 or if you were 80, you were paying a full adult's price.
Wow! I mean that is inexcusable. That and how long were they getting away with that for? Because surely that must have been rectified pretty sharpish.
Well, no, it wasn't, and that turned myself included. Obviously, with having the boys and stuff, that kind of turned me away. Like I'm lucky in the respect of when the boys are now, like my boys are now old enough to go and like enjoy the game of football. They have sorted it out now, and actually, I can't grumble at the prices we paid for the tickets when for the games we've been to with the boys, because I think the juniors tickets were like £7.50 a throw. Absolute, like you'd take that all day long. But why do that now? Why not do that all? Like they could have done that to begin with, and not kind of upset and like. It's just simple business, isn't it? Like these are the people you are selling your product to. Try not to piss them off.
It's something that I'll never understand. So like it's a bone of contention for me at Borough because I don't think you can get a ticket at Borough now for under £30 if you're paying on the day. This is just standard adult pricing, and that's not even the most expensive. I'm pretty sure there's tickets in certain parts of the ground that are £38, if not more. And that's for a home supporter. My argument was that if you're getting 17,000 fans, let's say, in a 35,000 seat stadium, so it's half full, and you're charging £35 a ticket, why not drop it to £20 a ticket, and you might start seeing 26,000 fans in there. And fair enough, you're not making as much money per person, but you're probably making more money on the whole because you've got people that are going that are going to be spending money, obviously for their ticket. They're going to be potentially spending money at the concourse on food, drink. Probably going to have a visit to the club shop. I mean, there's a person sat on this podcast right now I don't think has come away from the Riverside without buying something from the club shop. So, to me, it just makes perfect sense that you would drop the prices lower so you get more fans in the stadium. Case in point, it's not a home game, but obviously the next round of the FA Cup, Borough were drawn against Man United away. They announced the ticket prices last week. Away tickets for Old Trafford, £45. Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, that's just a complete other discussion because they're just straight up. I mean, the problem is now the majority of chairmen are just or owners are absolute bob dogs. They just want to make money out of the game and any avenue to make money. And if people continue to pay it, I'm going to tell you honest, I don't know how much Forest tickets are. I haven't bought Forest tickets for a long time. Do I plan on buying Forest tickets anytime soon? Probably not. But I'd probably be shocked at how much they'd be. And it would definitely put me off. It's probably why I haven't looked, because the prospect, if I'm thinking, all right, yeah, I'll buy some, and then I get there, it's £35 to go to Forest. I'm good, thanks. It's, I know, prices go up with inflation and stuff like that, but you're alienating yourself from your fan base, and there'll be some people who'll pay it, and there'll be some people that'll sacrifice who knows what to pay that money instead. But at what point does it, in a way, you kind of think, obviously they lost money through COVID, but part of me is kind of think, well, as long as you can make a load of money out of TV, then we're fine.
Probably a discussion for another day, because I dare say we could do this for at least 40 minutes on the price, things like that in football. So, yeah. I believe Mr. Woodmansey might have a little lighter note to end the show on this week.
I do indeed. Little funny video caught my eye. It is up on the Sky Sports app and website if you do get a chance to see it before it disappears. But in the game this week between Port Vale and Salford, a tractor was brought on to save the day because they got basically a defender, Connor Hall, collided with the goalposts in the first half of the game and hit the goalposts so hard he bent them out of shape. And
the referee made out of titanium or something.
Well, the ref noticed. He went on the video. You can see him stood on the touchline, like making sure the goals are level. And they had to bring on a tractor. Play was stopped for 10 minutes whilst they got the post bent back into position. But it did turn out to be the biggest cheer of the night as the tractor left the field from the home fans as Salford scored a winner in the second half to win 1-0. So unlucky Vale fans, but it was quite amusing to see it.
Only in Stoke-on-Trent here, Matt.
I mean, it says a lot you to buy the pitch to go and do those kind of repairs, to be honest,
Oh.
I mean, I can't confirm or deny if, I'm assuming it was a groundsman on a small tractor, and it wasn't just one that they'd had to borrow from the car park.
Anything else in the world of news and football? Lots of shaking heads over here. So that's that. This week's games are in the book with a bonus game for everybody's enjoyment. The news done. All that's left is to enjoy the games over the weekend and come back next week to find out who won the week, who's gonna win the week, and what news has been going on in the world of football. I will thank everybody here, our glorious host, Mr. Paul Williams, and our co-chairman, Stuart Woodmansey, Matthew Moore. Thank you everybody here for taking these lovely people through the sometimes murky waters of the football world. Join us next week. But until then, we shall all say goodbye and see you then. So there you go, what do you think to that? Another one done, another week of games gone, another week of games coming to look forward to. Ooh, so there's that. Wherever you're getting your podcasts, if you could take 2 minutes to consider subscribing. If you're already one of our subscribers, big thank you. If you want to pass the message on to other people, let them know the great content we've got and, maybe get them subscribing as well. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.